What is up, warriors, and welcome back to another video. Today I want to take you through kind of what I would call an application kind of video. A question that I get asked a lot is, where do I start? There is a lot of content out there on YouTube. There's hundreds of flexibility videos, thousands probably, going over different ways of stretching. It can be overwhelming, and I think often we get caught in this paralysis by analysis. We don't want to do anything. And to be honest with you, knowledge is nice, but doing is better. So today I want to make a video on how you can start doing with flexibility and mobility training. Before we jump straight into the video, I want to just mention that a lot of you guys who watch these videos aren't necessarily subscribed, and we are just encroaching on 500,000 subscribers. So if you'd do me a favor of hitting that subscribe button right below this video, I would highly appreciate it. Join the tribe. So in today's video, I want to kind of break down for you some example routines. I'm going to go through the reasons kind of why we're going to set things up and the way we're going to set things up. So I'm going to give you some context so you know why. But for those of you who don't really care too much, I'm just going to give you some example routines that you can be like, cool, I'm going to follow this for 4, 6, 8 weeks, whatever sticks, and then see the progress from there. We're going to look at some beginner stuff, how to get into some stretching if you're a little bit tight and struggling, where you should start with. And then, for those of us who have been in flexibility, maybe doing some training and have made some progress and want to achieve things like the splits, where do we go from there? Also, for those of you who aren't just satisfied with a video, I'm going to also put up a blog post, which I'll link in the description down below. And in that blog post, I'm just going to take you through kind of basically what I'm saying in this video today, but it's going to be in kind of a written format, if that's what you prefer. Right, so when it comes to flexibility work, there's a nice simple protocol that I can recommend that I think is going to work well for most people. And that's basically, we want to kind of grease the groove on a pretty daily basis. Flexibility relies on you either use it or lose it. If we're not demanding that level of flexibility from our body, at least on a somewhat regular basis, it's not going to be encouraged to develop it. So I like to get people to do some form of gentle limbering on a day-to-day basis, whether that is something as quick and simple as the 5-minute morning mobility routine that I have here, or something more in-depth like the 15 or 20-minute full body routine. Something like that every single day or 4 to 6 times per week is a pretty great way of just establishing that demand and greasing the groove and getting some stretching going. These can be added in super simply. If you want to be that sort of person who gets up first thing in the morning, does some stretching, do it then. If you want to do it after your workout, do it then. If you want to do it in the evening before bed, do it then. All is fine. Kind of just do it and do it whenever you want. Whatever sticks, it will probably work out for you. But this is just kind of the tip of the iceberg as such. This is a nice way just to grease the groove. We need to do some actual hard work to make sure we get flexibility gains that are going to last. And for this reason, I like to recommend doing a hard stretching, flexibility, mobility focus session 2, maybe 3 times per week. I would generally recommend twice per week. That kind of seems to work pretty well, and I generally go with the minimum effective dose. But if you're one of those people who wants to do a little bit more, 3 times a week works well as well. And when I say hard, intense stretching, this is something more than just that generic full body approach to stretching. This is something more focused, more specific, perhaps working on hamstrings and splits, something like that. That's what I'm talking about when I mean 2 times a week, hard stretching. Okay, so that's the general outline. That's kind of what I'd recommend, whether you're a beginner, whether you're advanced, we're gonna be somewhere in that realm. So for the beginner, we need something that's just gonna introduce us into stretching. It doesn't wanna be too intense. Just because you're a beginner doesn't mean necessarily that you haven't got loads of flexibility. It just means that you're new to stretching. So I'd recommend for that daily kind of greasing the groove 4 to 6 times per week sort of thing, I'd recommend just checking out the beginner routines that are on this channel. I think there's 2 or 3 of them now, 15, 20 minutes long each. Doing that kind of 4 times a week as a minimum will be really nice for kind of greasing the groove, moving things along, getting things doing. You could also branch out into the full body routines as well, although they tend to be a little bit more advanced. So if you are a little bit on the tighter side, stick to the beginner ones to begin with, but something like that will work perfectly well. For the intense stretching, the ones we're going to be doing on a twice per week basis, I would recommend as a beginner that you focus on getting your pike or forward fold. If you've seen this video, which covers about 3 flexibility tests, which I think everyone should be able to pass, in there we have a wall angel, we have a squat, and we have a palms to floor pike. The reason these moves are given is because this is what lays your base for being more flexible in the future. And the palms to floor pike, that pike position, if you can make progress of your hamstrings, your pike flexibility, that really tends to unlock the lower body and makes making progress in different positions that much quicker. So for this reason, as that twice or 3 times per week of hard, intense stretching, I would recommend following one of 2 routines. The first one is that 15-minute hamstring flexibility routine. This is in a follow along format if that's what you prefer, and it goes over a nice little routine to improve the flexibility of hamstrings. The other option is my beginner hamstring flexibility routine. This isn't a follow along, but it also provides an equally effective, kind of more high intensity stretching method approach. You could do one of each for that twice per week, or just choose one and stick to it for that twice per week volume. Next, we move over to the intermediate sort of level, and really the recommendation does shift, but it's going to be much of the same. I still think you want to have some sort of greasing the groove on a semi-regular basis, whether that's 4 to 6 times a week, depending on what you find you need to develop flexibility. Again, I would probably recommend now, if you're a little bit more flexible, moving to those full body routines that I mentioned was slightly more advanced than the beginner routines. Just chuck those in 3, 4, up to 6 times per week. That will work quite nicely. Then for the more intense stretching, what I'd actually recommend doing is checking out a pair of videos that I made, which is some workouts for both strength and flexibility. This is an upper body and a lower body routine, so it can be used in an upper lower split. That's 4 times per week, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, Friday. In this series of videos, we go through a strength bias training routine which has an emphasis on flexibility. It's not the sort of thing I would necessarily recommend to beginners, but if you've got some experience with this sort of training, it can work really well at developing your flexibility and strength in conjunction. Again, this hits both the upper body and the lower body twice per week at that intensity that's going to help develop hamstring flexibility, overhead flexibility, and some hip flexor flexibility as well, and just generally create a stronger and more flexible physique. Once you start doing some flexibility training, you're feeling a little bit more flexible, this step is certainly a nice one for kind of incorporating all your training into one general approach, which is kind of, I would say, my preferred approach to training. Finally, we get to the advanced, the specific, the people who are focused at getting things like the front splits, the middle splits, the pancake. Those of us who want to get those higher level flexibility moves. Again, the recommendation doesn't change too much in terms of that daily grease the groove. You need to be doing something on a daily basis. Those full body routines can work quite nicely in this instance again. Then we need to think about that high intensity stretching. This is where basically just pick any of my routines that I've got out there, whether it's the middle split routines, whether it's the front split routines, anything that is quite focused. That is going to be a high intensity routine that you can perform twice per week. Now, I'm sure people are probably wondering, what if I want to train front splits and middle splits and pancake? Is that too much to do in one go? The answer is not really. You can kind of do it all at once. It's not going to be too intense, but there's a couple of ways in which you could do this. So if you wanted to only get one of these kind of advanced splits, the thing that would be quite simple is you just pick a routine, you do that routine twice per week, as well as some of that general grease the groove stretching. If you want to do more than one, this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. Let's start with somebody who wants to train, for example, middle splits and pancake. These two movements are actually quite similar, so therefore we can train them together. If you wanted to do this, I would recommend, again, doing that kind of grease in the groove, daily sort of work, and then I would do twice per week, and I would do the middle split and the pancake session together on the same day, twice per week. This will work well. For somebody who wants to achieve pancake, middle splits, and front splits, so that's where I get a lot of stretching going on and a lot of time. What I would actually recommend doing is splitting this up into 3 times per week, and we're gonna alternate. So we're gonna have to A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, which means one week you'll do 2 sessions of one session of another. The next week, you're gonna flip that around. I would simply alternate between having your front split training and then your middle split and pancake training as well. And I would just go back and forth between those two. When it comes to training the front splits, I've got a couple of routines. I've got the follow along routine, and I've also got another loaded front split routine. Both, again, will work pretty well. Both are pretty effective. The same goes for middle splits. I've got a loaded routine. I would say this one is probably better for the beginners, the people starting out with their middle split journey. And then I've got a follow along middle split routine. And this one is a little bit more advanced, but again, it's just as effective as the first one as well. But that is basically it when it comes to applying some flexibility training. As I said, there is that full blog post in the description down below if you want to see some routines, how they might be applied, so you can also follow along. I recommend checking that one out. While you're down there in the description, don't forget to just hop on over and hit that subscribe button, join the Bodyweight Warrior tribe as we approach 500,000 subscribers. Highly appreciate it, join the tribe. If you just enjoyed this video, you can hit that thumbs up button and support the channel. If you have any questions, which I'm sure you might do, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. I'll do my best to reply to as many as possible. But that has basically been it for this week, guys. I'll catch you in the next episode. Have a strong week and